I wanted to talk today about kombucha and its, I don't know, relative you want to call it, Jun. And Jun is made with green tea and honey, and this is the last bit of my honey here, so I have some of the hot water dissolving all the honey for me, and I'll put it back in the tea that is steeping. I'm doing the Jun first, so we've got green tea and honey, and that's what feeds that. Kombucha is different. That is black tea and white sugar. And white sugar is the best sweetener to use for that, so I always make sure that I get 100% pure cane sugar so that it's non-GMO. And so I'm just going to take you along and show you how I do all of that. I know everybody has their own way of doing it. The Jun is ready for me to do its second ferment and bottling, and the kombucha I have a continuous brew of that, but when it's at its point where it's starting to get a little sour, I'll bottle up most of it and do its second ferment and then feed it all fresh. And then in just a couple days, because I continuously do it, I'll have my tea that I like to have with my juice in the morning for breakfast. So while that's steeping, we'll talk a little bit about the Jun and second ferments. So here's my Jun. It's very similar tasting to me as a nice light apple cider vinegar, homemade, that I make myself. Only it's available much quicker. It's also a probiotic, so I use it in my chickens and ducks and rabbits and goats' water. And that is another thing that I do to help combat any nasties or, colds, anything that they can get. Worms, it's a big one, and internal parasites. Apple cider vinegar helps with it, and so does the Jun. And so that's what we do around here for that, because I don't eat a lot of apples. I can only eat apples when they're cooked. To try to eat a fresh one, my throat will get itchy and stuff. They have a similar chemical makeup as birch trees, and I'm highly allergic to birch trees when they're pollinating. So today I'm going to do the second ferment with some guava fruit. It was on sale, and I love guava kombucha, so I'm excited to try it with the Jun. The Jun is a fairly new thing that I've been doing, but I really like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some fruit in the bottom of my spring-loaded bottles. This is my favorite way to do the second ferment. That way the carbonation gets to build up in here, but if it gets too much, it'll release a little. That's just how they work. So let me get those all filled while this green tea steeps, and then I'll show you the next step. So the tea has fermented now for around 10 minutes. I usually do it a bit longer, but I've got to go to work, so I gotta get this finished. It's already got the honey in it because remember I mixed it with the hot water. So then squeeze all the tea goodness out. That in my compost / chicken bowl. I got a canning funnel here and some cool water so that it'll cool off faster, so I can get this done and move on to the kombucha. And I'm going to go ahead and pour the tea into here so it can cool off. And it's already nice and cool. You want it to be at least room temperature. If it's too hot, it will kill all the little yeast and bacterial organisms that make it kombucha or Jun. They grow the mushroom. So I'm just going to get a little bit more cool water here so I can top it off, and then we'll get to bottling. And also, I always use cold and filtered water from my fridge. Even when I make the tea to begin with, I get the filtered water from the fridge. And I'm just going to go ahead, this is going to be our new Jun bottle. And then I'm going to clean this one out to help me mix up for the kombucha, and then I'll pour it into the continuous brew jug that I use. So here we have the nice cool green tea. Let it continue to cool for a few minutes while we bottle. This is my June. I will also get a new coffee filter when the time comes. And you want to make sure your hands are clean. You're going to go ahead and reach in and pull out your mushroom. Just put it on the plate. Nice clean plate. Everything's got to be nice and clean. And then I have my bottles here in the sink, all ready to go with the guava fruit. I use about a quarter cup to a half. Now the thing with second ferments is you want to have some kind of sugar source to continue to feed the bacteria so that they will develop a carbonation. Of course, the sugar source today is fruit. Last time I did June, I used honey and some chai spice tea. Not the black tea, an herbal one. The other thing that you want to make sure you do is leave at least a cup of the mother liquid to add back to your new solution. And I am out of the June that I was using to put in my animals' water. So I'm going to actually fill up the mason jar for that. And I think that I am going to leave that much liquid to pour into the new. This is our new tea, and I'm just testing the temperature. It's definitely plenty cool enough. And there's our starter liquid. And I could actually put a little bit more water in there. That's about right. So then, I'm just going to add my mushroom back to the jar. With a coffee filter. And our June is all set. It will ferment. And then I'll have some more. So now I'm going to fill this up and put it in the microwave for 6 minutes. Put the black tea in, and that can start to steep while I get everything cleaned up and ready for our kombucha. For most things that I can, and for the kombucha and things like that, I use a Sharpie and just write on the glass. It washes off easy. And then I don't have any labels that I gotta peel. I don't have to worry about it washing off or anything like that. This is my continuous brew, and it just grows a big SCOBY. When that one gets too big, the bottom layer gets old and brown. I peel it off and give it to the chickens. And I've tried filling the bottles from here before, and they always bubble up and overflow. So I put it in here and then put it in the bottles. 1.5 for sugar, because I make about 1.5 gallons. I don't quite fill up the 2-gallon container. I lost count, but I think that was 7. Oh, I needed 6. So again, the black tea is sat here for about 10 minutes. For 1.5 gallons, I use 8 tea bags. For the 1 gallon of June that I made, I used 6. If I was going to do the full 2 gallons, I'd probably just do 10. Again, running out of time. I'm cooking my lunch as we speak. So I'm going to go ahead. I have the cool water going here. I'm going to add it to the tea. Cool it off fast. Pretty cool. And then in this jar, I have my sugar and some more cool water. I'm just going to pour that in. Put my starter liquid in. I don't know if you noticed, but this was running really slow. I don't wash this out every time, but sometimes it needs it, and I think it needs it. So, and I'm going to pour all of my tea and sugar and starter liquid back into here. And I do like to be a little fuller than that before I put the mushroom back in. So I'm going to get some more cool water. Now, I keep this on top of my fridge. It's nice and warm there. My house tends to be cool, especially the kitchen in the winter. So I keep it on top of the fridge. I do in the summer too. It helps it ferment faster. It's out of direct sunlight. And it just seems to be a really good spot in my house for the kombucha. Now, the June I keep in a totally separate room. It's in the cupboard in my hutch in our dining area. And that is right by one of the baseboard heaters, so that also stays nice and warm. When you in the sourdough, I do keep in the kitchen, but it's quite far away from the kombucha. When you ferment things, you want to have some space between them. It's best to have them in different rooms, or at least in different cupboards. I don't have it in a different cupboard. I have one on top of the fridge, that would be the kombucha, and the sourdough is over by my coffee pot. But they're far enough away, they've not contaminated each other, so we're good. But that's just something to keep in mind when you're fermenting things. Now, the bottom layer of, not this one, this is called a SCOBY in case you don't know. These ones look nice and healthy, so I use my continuous brew as a SCOBY hotel and as a continuous brew. So this layer here is looking a little brown and nasty, so I'm just going to go ahead, put that in there. I've dehydrated it before for the chickens and then kind of crunched it up. They really like that. But for today, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in their little scrap bowl that I bring out to that. And then I have this tea towel that I just stick over here. And in a couple of days, it'll be ready for me to have it with my tea in the morning.